You and I with Rashmi Shetty is a simple attempt of bringing in stories of people you and I can draw inspiration from. Ordinary folks, extraordinary lives. Their uniqueness and individuality that make them interesting to talk to and to listen to. A reaffirmation of the fact, open your eyes wider, the world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Today's guest, Anupama Hoskere, is the founder of Dhaatu, an organization that works to revive the traditional art form of puppetry and winner of the Sangeet Natak Akademi Award for Puppetry. A master's in computers with a fellowship in puppetry, she had a childhood growing up with dolls and being influenced by art. Her passion for tradition, texts, and scriptures, and the good fortune to be guided by veterans like MR Ranganath Rao, who taught her to create puppets, Anupama is an awesome storyteller soaked in everything Indian. The intention for initiating Dhaatu for Anupama and her husband Vidyashankar Hoskere is to fill the gap for introducing traditional arts with captivating stories told through epics and mythological accounts of inspiring personalities. Anupama scripts the storyline, creates the puppet, and also directs her puppet shows. She's also in charge of sound and light. This is part one of an interesting two-part series where she shares her childhood, her love, and the importance of art in shaping an individual, what it is to be Indian, and the need to understand our culture and value it. Hi, Anupama. Such a pleasure having you on the podcast, You and I with Rashmi Shetty. I've been noticing what you're doing with an area and space that many people do not even know the value of. You've gone back to our roots, our culture, our heritage. And when everything today is about strings attached, metaphorically, you are doing it literally and making a difference. A warm welcome to you. And how have you been?
Namaste, Rashmi. Thank you so much for having me back here with you. Yeah, so far, so good. I've been one of the better fortunate ones in this world, I must say. Ups and downs, but going on.
Wow. Better fortunate, but you made sure the fortunes of a lot have changed as a result. And you are an engineer by qualification, but a puppeteer today by choice. And puppeteering is something that people are fascinated by as little children. And how did your journey start? I'm very curious to know. Take us back to the little Anupama and bring us to the Anupama. In between, if I have questions or doubts, I'll stop.
See, as a child, I was brought up in Shankarpuram, Baswangudi of Bengaluru, which is in a traditional household with a very educated but extremely traditional grandmother and a mother who was very broad-minded. So there was discussion of Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Vedas, the Upanishads, and also Shakespeare in the house. So growing up, I would hear my grandmother talk about works of Shakespeare and Kalidasa on an equal platform. And we were not held back as women. There was no restraint on us. We were exposed to all education of all forms, academic, arts, and then administration. My grandmother was also a great administrator because they had large families, and she would talk about the finance and administration of households. So everything was an open secret, everything was discussed in the house. Yet they were very, very traditional, open-minded, questioning. And it made me understand that the Bharatiya Samskriti is not a closed box. It is to reach out to the skies and beyond. So this is the kind, when they encouraged me, everything good was positive. There was a lot of positive feedback in my childhood, and there were a lot of people around me. And I hop, skip, jump to school, and I did. I was very one of those who wouldn't go to school if I thought I wasn't going to get the first rank. I would ask the Ayama and say, her name was Kempama. I would ask her, I say, Kelkonba, what is the rank I have? And then she would say, Ayo, first rank bandide hogama. I think this was 6th standard. And then I would go to class. So I was very conscious of doing well in school because I took a responsibility. My mother was a single parent. I lost my father very early in life. So I had this responsibility that I had to do well. And this kind of a thing I have shouldered. Nobody told me, nobody ever said I have to be all this. But I just chose to be this, I guess. And I loved stage. I remember once there was a talent competition and I entered everything. And the judges kept seeing me like one magical thing. I would exit, enter. I'm there in every event of the talent. There must have been like 20 odd events. And finally they said, last few events, Anupama is not allowed to come. And I felt very, very bad. I said, this is not fair. This is the way I was with arts. And then there was Usha Navratna Raham, who is a famous writer, who was my teacher in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th standards, who recognized this madness in me and made me her assistant to choose costumes. I remember there was Prabha Chishwara in Jain Temple Road. And in 4th standard, she would give me freedom to choose costumes for period plays. The whole works. Aharya I would be given freedom. And of course, she gave me the lead roles. And even in high school, she was a kind of my first mentor in theatre. When I was 1st standard, I started Bharatanatyam classes with V.S. Kaushik sir, and I loved to dance. We would go early in the morning. The class would be in the school itself. So we would go 1 hour before school time. And we dance students skipped prayer. So that time also went into practice of dance. Immediately we changed and went to class in the school. So dance and music teacher would come home and teach. But music, my brother and I both would hide. We would be playing across National High School field. We would see this teacher come. And then both of us would go put rugs on our heads and sleep. And she would, wake up, dear children, have come. And poor lady taught us music like this. And then later in high school, when I went to dance class in Jainagar, Sanatana Kalakshetra, there was a Jain master who would come from Vishweshpuram. He was excellent. He's painted the paintings on the walls there of Samudra Mathana. He taught us basics in drawing and painting. So this way, playing, escaping, half the things, it was just children giving people a hard time, nothing serious.
But no, Anupama, what's it? There's so much you have covered now about your childhood. There was dance, there was music, there was art. And how did you find time for studies and still come first in class? Like, how did you balance it all? You seemed so joyful while you were even revisiting your childhood.
Yeah, I was very happy doing all this. See, it was there for us to do. And then when I did it, I was happy. And I would also was fascinated by these large rangolis they did for Habba.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved to dress up as a child and wear langa, jumki, everything for festivals. And academically, I had to do it. It was just part of me. That's it.
No, what would you tell today's parents who push their children to focus so much on academics that by the time they're in 8th, 9th, they give up all the other extracurricular and art and focus so much on studies that somewhere isn't art an outlet? What would you want to tell parents who are focused so much on studies?
Let me analyze this. There is life and livelihood.
Yeah.
That gives you education training for life. Academics gives you training, it's a vocational training for livelihood. What happens is, by the time the girl, and I specifically bring it to even the boys, my brother and I both were equally, learned all the arts. He didn't come to painting class, but the rest of it we learned together. And theater, he was into dance. He learned Bharatanatyam along with me. And so whether it is boy or girl, arts makes the human being. It makes the human being multidimensional. It teaches the human being to take the ups and downs of life. It teaches you to be happy despite the external environment. It teaches you to look at life where you can do your best with your potential rather than circumstances. Of course, if circumstances are also good, you will do greatest.
Yeah.
But this makes the human being solid. It gives in value education. It tells you what it is to be an Indian. So what happens is, what is success? Success is when you reach your potential. In order to reach your potential, you should not be divided. See, once a human being gets divided inside, outside, whatever my capacity is becomes only hard in whatever I'm doing. So when this kind of an upbringing comes where life is life, and this is in a stride, your potential is integrated. That means you can be anything. You can do whatever and still be happy and be able to face the negatives. Failure is a big part of life. When you're in the arts, you practice, your body is trained, you're physically fit. That's what I didn't realize. Puppetry and dancing both make you very fit physically. So you're able to do more work physically. Your brain is sharpened because you have to do, when you become multifaceted, which is what you need to be to succeed. Because you can't be lopsided and say, I'll do only one thing, the rest, I don't know. It doesn't work. I'm running an NGO now. So I realized how much the administration, I didn't know where I learned all this, but to be an administrator, the acumen of it and the honesty of it, everything comes as part of life. So parents, okay, occasion is required, and the tag which comes with a degree is a little overrated. Because if you keep a tag, life doesn't go on. You need the human being. You need to have a happy family. You need your kids to relate to you. You need your family to extend. You need to have human relationships. HR department begins in the house. So don't make it such that your kid is only good with the HR department personnel of the corporate office, but it's a failure. Parents don't meet children. They don't have time. Time is very important. And when your child is young, you teach them, okay, we are not important. Life is not important. Happiness is not important. And enjoying what you have and appreciating where you are is not important. You feed them this for 12 years and then they say, okay, now I know only that thing is important. Scowling and then going into office and taking up mundane responsibilities and then going to a doctor and paying the bill. So this is what was being taught. If you say all of this life is not important. So it might be, just for an experiment, you might not want to, again, it is not to please somebody or tell them my child is going through 9 classes. No, that is not the thing. You see what your child likes and then enjoy with them. Let it not be a chore. See, for us also, everything was close by. But I would take a bus in high school and go to dance class. I would change 2 buses and go to dance class. And you have to trust your children. If you invest in them, that means you yourself look into yourself. See, the problem lies there. If I pretend and I want something for external world, get rid of the external world. We have a very beautiful festival in India, which is called Deepavali, where the Prag Jyotisha Pura, we celebrate Naraka Chaturdashi, especially in South India, it's done very, very grand manner. Yeah. Naraka Chaturdashi is celebrated in our lives daily. Who is this Narakasura? Narakasura is the Adhipati, Lord of Prag Jyotishapura. That means the light on the external world. If you become Adhipati of Prag Jyotisha, you are Adhipati of Naraka. That means hell. Yeah, we need the electric lights, but we also need the internal light. That is why we light oil lamps on Deepavali day, because it symbolifies Angushta Matra, the Atma, which is a source of Ananda. So this is part of our living. We need to look at it again and say, okay, external world is all right, but what about the internal world? Who am I? Who are my children? What is my family? And for what are we going through this whole business called life? And this comes in the arts. How do I do this? Next question is, okay, good theory, but how do I practice all this? How do I know this is correct? What do I do? I have no background. Two things: enjoy what you do and just make some art compulsory for your kid in your household, so that come what may, art goes on. See, this is sattvic. That means you invest today, for lifelong there is return. It's a very good FD. But if you want immediate returns, like I put my kid in class today, dance class is most common, so I shall take the example. So next 3 months, I need to see the glamorous girl on stage or a boy on stage. No, that's not the attitude. Stage is, by the way, the child enjoys learning. So this knowledge of learning an art form is also a tiny reflection of the knowledge of life. So vocational training will come. So don't discourage that. Don't discourage anything. When you are balanced, it'll be like a full-fledged meal where all the rasas, tastes are balanced and you enjoy life.
This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. Was this something that now on reflection you understood, Anupama, or were you very aware? Because now what you're doing is definitely connected to how you have been brought up. But the awareness, were you told, explained to before you were getting into any of the art forms, like during dance? Usually when you're introduced to any art form, there's the folk story that comes along with it, which the teacher explains, and then you get into it. Was it those stories that stayed with you, that brought you back into these beautiful spaces that you're working on? Or was this something that on reflection you realized that, oh, I was so fortunate to have these experiences?
See, when I was about 6 years old, I was bombarded with stories of my two aunts who did Raga Tana Pallavi, danced for that with Kaushik sir in Rashtrapati Bhavan in front of Nehru. So we have photos of this. And there were stories of costume, the color, the texture. I still remember it was an organza. They designed this beautiful peacock blue organza material with satin lining, and then the bullock design. So this is what I've grown up with, not the. And then there were photos of experimentation of dance. My grandmother was a great patron of the arts. And they were all very excited, and they said, then Purandara Dasa's works with Jatis was done, Swaraj was done. So I grew up learning all of this. So the two stalwarts had already done this, gone to dance class and gone to Rashtrapati Bhavan and danced. And General Karyappa, for the first time ever in Coorg, had a Bharatanatyam concert. So my two aunts were part of the group of 5 who danced in Coorg ever, the first performance of Bharatanatyam. So Veda Pushpa is in Bangalore, Radha Narasimhan is in the US, but both of them danced there. So this is the kind of excitement, and they would take us for dance programs. So when Kitappa Pillai students were done, Vaijayanti Mala's, they were all fans of her. So this is the atmosphere with which we grew. There was a lot of critical appreciation of the dance, and then there was also discussion of the epics. Okay. Compulsory was every day we had to read the Ramayana at least 4 lines before going to school.
Oh, okay.
And I would say, before you do anything else, read 4 lines and go. And we would learn to read fast because we wanted to get rid of the chore and run. We would read. And 6 o'clock, she would say, come and learn some shlokas. So Sanskrit came to me like that. Reading these shlokas from my grandmother, or reading the Ramayana also. And then she would tell us stories. Storytelling was a big part of life at night. It would never stop. We would go on. And then finally she said, I need to sleep. I'm tired. Go. So, and talking about virtues of people in the family. My great grandfather was a financial secretary to the Maharaja of financial controller of Karnataka. So how honest he was, how he got rewarded, and how they managed difficult situations. Even cows, how they took care of the feeling towards animals, and always being just and right. They would encourage us by example. So they were people who did simple living, high thinking, really. And whoever came to the house, I was in charge of giving them coconuts. So they would just run and give coconuts. And see, giving, being part of society, interacting with people, having compassion. This is what we grew up with. All of the rest of the story about art is not required in those days. They did to enjoy it. They were connoisseurs. But today it has other dimensions which I'm realizing, which I have benefited from. So the theory of it is from me. The fun of it is from there.
Yeah. Is that element of putting a theory to the fun a part of your scientific thinking process, which drew you into engineering? Or how did you get into engineering after all this art surrounded you?
See, art was still in me, but I had to be financially independent. It was my very important requirement in life. So I wanted to be a patron. And at some point, my dance teacher said, if you go into engineering, you're not welcome in the dance class. So I had to temporarily pause and make a decision saying, then I saw, from the child's perspective or a young adult's perspective, that my dance teacher was very poor. I said, I don't want to be poor. And I said, I will help dancers in a manner. I thought I could do a big deal. And then I will become somebody who will be a patron of the arts. But I wanted to be an artist. And then I said, okay, I have to explore life on my own. In my own terms, I wanted to be an artist and not on a set pattern, because I saw problems in the set. I was in 9th standard. I said, this can be better. This can be open. This can, in my small world, the world was very limited. Of course, dance teacher had taken us to Padma Subramaniam's house at that time. We did a program there. We got to interact with her. Chitra Vishweshwaran was there in dance class. So we had seen all these people. And Swapna Sundari was there. And we had met everybody who was star of India. Met in the sense we were there as with folded hands, looking at them in admiration, but we knew what excellence was. And from Kalamandalam also, there was a teacher who was teaching. We learned that. So he exposed us in the dance class also to a variety of people. So he himself was part of the Gubbi Veerana theatre. He was very well versed and a genius in that. So that way I'm very lucky that everywhere I've had people who are extraordinary. And I have been with them. So then I said, no, I have to do engineering. And in the house, I was the first girl to do engineering. And everybody said, why do you want to do engineering? National College is very nice. You can do BSc, you can do MSc, you can do a PhD. In those days, the advertisements came in the newspaper. So they gave me money to go to the college and pay fees for BSc. I kept the money and then I filled in the newspaper and then I posted it and waited for my engineering degree. And BSc results, seats were announced much before. And my uncles realized that my name was not there. And then I gave the money back and said, I didn't apply, deadline is over. Of course, they could have used influence and got me, but by then they said, okay, if you're so much serious about doing engineering, all the best, we shall support you. I did get my seat in Gulbarga, electronics engineering. And then we went to Gulbarga in the first, because there were only 2 colleges in Bangalore, BMS and UEC, that's all. So first prize list, I got into architecture in BMS. They said, take it. I didn't want to do architecture. And I wanted to do electronics because I was much inspired by Vishweshwaraya Technological Museum in 7th standard. So that was my secret plan in 7th standard. After seeing, all the display in the Vishweshwaraya Museum, I said, this is what I'm going to be. A person capable of doing such a museum. This was 7th standard. So electronics was the thing I wanted to do. Then I did get into electronics by 2nd year. And then I did, by the time I graduated, of course, I ensured that I was always a distinction student. I remember the second year, I got less in one subject. So all holidays I studied, excelled in that subject, so that in my master's I got 95. I did ME also. I got a gate score. And Professor S.R. Krishnamurthy, who's still there in BMS, he was a very kind and a very brilliant man who inspired me to learn engineering well. And then he told me they're starting ME in BMS. So since I had a gate score, I should come in. They would give a stipend. By now, I was already in love with Vidyashankar. So that was going on parallelly. I thought nobody knew, everybody knew.
Was he your classmate?
Yeah, he was, see, both of us were thrown into transportation engineering for a few months.
Okay.
We were both from National College, Baswangudi, and we didn't know anybody else in class. And I was one day the only girl in class. So the lecturer told me, I was sitting in a bench. In those days, boys wouldn't sit next to girls. So one bench has only one girl, other boys are standing. Then that sir said, why don't you get up and go? Because you're preventing so many boys from getting education. I said, I paid my fees. If anybody dares, I put my bag next to me and said, they can come and sit next to me. So this boy dared to come and sit next to me.
He didn't know what all he's getting into.
There was always the stack of books beside me and whoever came. So this translation class was very difficult class because girls, there were 4 girls. They always gave excuses and wouldn't come. But I was one of those. See, when you go to schools and colleges like this, you are just trained to learn in class. We had fantastic teachers in National College PUC. Yeah. So one of the Sanskrit who taught us Sanskrit, H.S. Varada Deshikachar, in his Purvashrama became Rangapriya Swamiji in his later, and he was such a extraordinary human being. He is mine and Vidyashankar both our mentor, philosophical mentor. We have a spiritual guide in him. He's no more, but he lives on. So he's realized if somebody understands what that is, but we never knew. When he did Kalidasa lessons in National College in Baswangudi, we were mesmerized. I never missed a single class of Sanskrit. We realized this is such an extraordinary human being. So he's also been a philosophical, spiritual mentor. He appeared. Actually, we met him later in life in Indian Institute of Science in a lecture. And he said, what are you two doing? Come and talk to me. And that's as simple as that. There is no pushing anywhere. You see, it's freedom, it's exploration, it's questions, it's answers. So engineering happened, and then we had made plans to go to the US, and then declared after pretty much 1 year of masters in ME. I'm first batch ME in BMS College. So there I got very good scores, which I transferred to the US. That also helped because fees was very expensive. By then I had a child when I did my masters in the US. So everything kind of worked out. You just believe in yourself, you believe in where you come from. And I was quite surprised. I went to Cal State Long Beach. They had so much respect for people from BMS. They've all done well who come to our college. And there was a meeting and people just said, sure, you have 95 in 2 subjects, over 95, 97, we'll transfer the credits. 6 credits I transferred from ME, which didn't complete in India because there was a court case. About marks not being 50. We had double correction. Second year, it got stalled. So staying here, went to the US and continued life there.
Seems like you are Destiny's favorite child, Anupama. You've met some amazing mentors, teachers, and I think it's just that you're so positive and you value everything that is coming to you, that life has only been so generous, giving you even more wherever you went. So what shifted in the US, or what happened in the US that you decided to leave it and come back? Because you had one kid while you were there already studying. And how did life in the US alter any of these cultural influences, or what was life in the US like after such a culturally happy life here?
See, in the US, I learned a lot of crafts. Let me put it this way. Visa wouldn't permit me to work. I was a student, dependent who was a student. So I didn't have a permit to work. But then there was a lot in that country for me to learn. I learned sewing professionally. I went to classes, learned that, learned uh, cake decorating, and then I learned to do interior work because we couldn't hire people. I learned to fix things. And I learned a lot of craftsmanship in the US. I mean, my exposure to today's puppetry, what I do, I got a lot going through these craft stores, seeing how people work, that it is possible. It was a possibility for me that I could create any costume. I'm very, very thankful to all the lessons I took. But I had a precursor to this that my aunt in Bombay was a great doll maker. And she taught me to sew. And they all donated, they used to donate their Banarsi saris, which were slightly damaged, for me to make clothes. And in PUC, I stitched my own clothes. I learned a skill, and I used to wear the clothes I stitched. And I knew sewing, but I didn't get a professional training in that. I just had, I mean, my aunt was professional enough, but still. So all of these, the skills got honed there. And also, I became part of a larger world. I realized that what I had was valuable. See, if I could go and negotiate a transfer of, I had to negotiate in the hospital, I had to negotiate everywhere in this country. And where did I get all this from? Right from day one, it was a survival. Then I said, I'm not alone in this. There are so many people like me who are doing this. But then the inner happiness for me was in India. I would go to the movies. There would be one samosa available sometimes. And then I'm like, oh my God, food. You don't celebrate what we celebrate in India. See, India is a Utsava country. Anything we do, whether we did Janmashtami yesterday, and then we're going to do Gauri Ganesha, Navaratri, everything is done in exuberance, in happiness, and it is not self-indulgent. It is done for an external, for a source beyond, and you include everybody in this. The family is included, there is celebration, and there is happiness. But we do all the work too, but it's not like you're stuck into a rut. The Indian lifestyle never puts you in a rut. The so-called structured lifestyle, organized system, when it's taken beyond a certain point, is a waste of human life. Everywhere there are exceptions. But what I saw of the Indian community which had succeeded in the US, one, they were stuck in time in India, whichever year they went. Or second, they had a need to justify leaving their motherland and settling somewhere else. So they went on finding faults with the nation. Third, I was in LA, and when I went out with my uni friends from other places, they wanted to they wanted to bathe in the sun. And I'm like, shoo, I don't want tanning off my skin. Get me an umbrella. And then my spirits are within. I don't need any alcohol from outside. If I went out to a bar, what do I do? How much of the chemicals can you put into your body? I don't drink any spirits, so coffee and other soft drinks. No, there's only so much you can do. And then I started, this is a very nice thing I would see. People are normal human beings with all their problems and their faults. Then they put a few pegs in, and they're gregarious, they're happy, they're outward, and they're false. Because sustainability, it comes to, I'm showing this only for sustainability. So you feel a high, you feel good. You want to sustain the high, you become dependent. I said, I come from a culture where the high is sustained by effort, and it is not dependable on substance. So where do we come from, this height of raising yourself, being happy, putting your head above the rest? So this is a way of life. This is Sanatana Dharma. So when you have a superior choice, Okay, let me not even say it that way. One is a path of physical material, another is a path of spiritual. The spiritual path does not prevent you from material. Material is of limited usage. We all know. Everybody now, Bangalore is IT capital. So everybody has enough earnings. They'll go enough, buy enough things. And then the problem is to maintain your household with this enough things. So you leave it. There's a beautiful story which I learned later, of course. It is in Yoga Vasishta. It is about Chudala and Chikidvaja. We've done a puppet show of this. See, Chudala and Chikidvaja are successful couple. They are rich, powerful, good-looking, famous, dharmic, name it, they have it. They've done it all. And they have reached middle age. Now, they discuss saying, can we explore the self? Let us make space for each other. They agree mutually that they will make space for each other and they go to explore. And Shikitvaja says, youth has left both of us. And now we have to explore and see what is it that we are born for? What is this life? We are very curious. Both are curious. He achieves Jnana before him. He is the one talking all the scriptures all the time. She is the silent observer who is experiencing life. And both are good, no less of each other. But she just strikes the chord earlier. One day he looks at her and he says, what is this? Youth is a cheat. He left both of us. He returned to you. You're glowing with beauty. He calls her Srimati. See, the first reference of Srimati is here. It is not a Mrs. The one endowed with the wealth of the mind. And then she tries to explain, Sadatmani Evatish, I'm always standing in happiness, state of happiness. Will I not be happy? He will not glow. But then he is very dejected. Then he goes and he explores life. And finally, she helps him see the truth because his attachment to his goal is there. That is preventing him from achieving the goal. He's too attached to the goal. It's such a beautiful story, older than Ramayana. And this is pretty much what life is. You know, we cannot waste. When you understand, even in IIC, I heard they were doing this research in management. When you decide you invest into something, you decide the product is not going to be a success. You just drop it. Your losses are minimized. I forgot what it's called. So this kind of a material management is there. Life management. Realize that you can do better with this thing called life for your goal. Right? So middle paths are there, middle steps are there that you can hop, skip, jump, get whatever. That is not fixed. That is the reason we've come back.
Wow. This is so beautiful and powerful. Now that you're back, we met the last time when you were back and you were just starting out with Dhaatu and your journey as a puppeteer. You've come a long way from in the last 10 years plus. So once you were back, how did you get lock, stock, barrel into puppeteering? Were you very clear when you were there that you're going to get into puppeteering? What drew you to that? You came back as an engineer who had a good career. You had 2 children and you were settling down. What drew you to puppeteering? Were you clear about it when you shifted base?
Not at all. I wanted to be the CEO of some company. I came earlier with the children to settle them down. Then I had to do school, mundane chores. Gas connection, phone connection, light connection, schooling. And then whenever I went and see, idealism was with me. Idealism was a yardstick. So whenever I went into society and I thought it was far away from the cultured land that we are supposed to be. I started questioning, who am I? Am I this alien? I don't belong in the Western world. I come back here. I don't belong here either.
Yeah, Bangalore must have changed, right? The Bangalore you left to the Bangalore you came to must have drastically changed.
I changed. The city might have been the same. My perspective changed from that of a child to that of an adult. Okay. So, but still I was expecting, see, one thing in the Western world is if somebody says something, they try to keep the word. You get used to it. Mean what they say. There's value for word. There's value for there's professionalism. Let me put it this way. So I got pampered by professionalism, extremely pampered by professionalism. And then you come here, it's like chaos. Every professional unit is a chaos. It is much better now. Much better. After digitalization of India, I must say hats off to it because I've wondered why we didn't do it. So everywhere I encountered, I saw that it was not at all up to living standards of human beings. Then I felt very angry. So I was this angry person who was lashing out at the world because the world is not okay. And then somewhere inside me, I said, am I okay? I don't know. See, there is no comparison. I said, the world is not okay. These people are not okay. I'm still a stickler for all of this. I'm still a stickler when I call somebody in for they have to, they don't keep the words. I try to tell them now I'm older. Calmly, I can tell them, if you don't value your word, nobody in the world will respect you. So we have Satyam Vada Dharmanchara with us. So that is why we have it with us, because everybody needs to be told that 100 times every day, saying this is what you need to be. So then in our country, what has happened is with this, people who didn't understand India are people from outside who came in, whether Europe or USA or any part of this world, who try to tell us how to be. And for their own reasons, for their own benefits, they try to mess with Indian education system. They say, oh, all this is mundane, Ramayana is why. They'll take some tangential thing. They don't understand. They don't invest in reading. They don't invest in understanding the country and seeing what the country needs. We are a very old culture. We cannot be changed. Polychronic culture. Polychronic people. So they go, their single threads, they'll come and hold, and they'll try to percolate into society with this knowledge because it's beneficial to them. So post-independent India got into this education system where everybody is told to disregard what has come to us from 5,000 years for our maintenance. So social chaos got created. This is the end product is non-professional attitudes. If people can build Brigadishwara temple, people can do the inlay in Bidri, people can do accuracy work of marble inlay today, that is Indian for you. And you see any temple carving, Ajanta Ellora, what is all that work? Yeah. So much so, you see some channel saying aliens did it. Aliens didn't do it. This culture is because the rules of the country understood the governance of the people. We are management, you see, I heard a few lectures saying the Western management is an utter failure with Indians. You cannot control an Indian by the Western management units, not at all. So here the education system percolated into schools. It's very stupid actually. The vested interests of some country percolates into India and tells you, you are not okay. And then a whole lot of graduates who are taken on freebie trips outside the world say, oh yeah, we are not okay. You ask them more questions. Did you read any book in India? No. What are you talking about? See the mess you created. So this mess has to be slowly cleared. Once it is cleared, we are just a great country.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.